What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks. And we back in the building, you feel me? It's True Talks. Say it. Cause True Talks. Cause True Talks. You're not talking yet. Look at you. Look at you. This is why man sometimes be loafing with the videos, you feel me? Look at her, man. You're not gonna speak? You're not gonna have a Riley moment? No? You confused? She confused. She confused. You're not gonna look at the camera? Say hi. Say true. Say true crew. Say hi. She don't have time for that. You already know. You're not gonna say hi to the fam though? You said move me, fam. I'm not ready for this. Move me, fam. All right, we out. We out. No Riley moment. What up, YouTube? It's your boy Banks. And we back in the building, you feel me? It's True Talks. Cause True Talks. You already know, man. I appreciate y'all. So, you know, forget that intro. But don't forget it, you feel me? So you already know, man. That was a great win for the Raptors, especially, you know, the fact that Vanvleet came back and it's his first game back versus the Spurs last night. And, you know, they had a comfortable win. The game was close. The game didn't change and the win wasn't dictated fully till the end of the third, beginning of the fourth quarter. That's when the Raptors really went on a run and took over. And it was mainly literally like a lot of it was the bench, you know, a mix of the bench, you know, with Banton coming in, playing good defense, solid playmaking and stuff like that. Fast break, push the tempo, right? And then Thad Young hit a three and hit a 1-2, right? And then Precious Achiuwa coming in, hitting threes, basically being a floor spacer. It's funny how I was saying they don't space the floor, etc., etc. Then what? Precious comes in, hits 3 for 5 from 3, right? You're just spacing the floor, and you could just see the offense just flow differently, even though it kind of looked the same, but it's still different at the same time with the insertion of Vanvleet. And then that back half of the third, and then the beginning, not back half, end of the third, beginning of the fourth, the game changed with the integration of the bench mixed with a 1-2 starter. So that's when everything just, the floodgates happened, right? And that's when the Raptors were scoring in transition, even in half court. They were just scoring, period, and great defense. So when you look at it, that's what changed this game and turned it around. But for the most part, if you dive into it fully, then you would understand that Vanvleet is the main culprit and the main reason for all of this, right? The insertion of Vanvleet, you can see why he's the Raptors' most important player at this point of the season, right? And moving forward, you know that you need Vanvleet healthy. And that's what I was saying, that Vanvleet and OG, but especially Vanvleet, for the most part, for the Raptors, it doesn't look like he's that important. You know, you just kind of like the Raptors can plug and play for the most part. But because Vanvleet is one of those creators and like the main vocal point of the Raptors, he's basically like, obviously not stature-wise and play skill set wise and all that type of stuff like how Kawhi was, but that's what Vanvleet technically is. He's the Raptors' number one guy in terms of he's the offense that, like, the offense gets created through Vanvleet, right? And might not necessarily even lead to a Vanvleet assist or anything like that, right? That's what I was trying to tell people from time. You don't have to make people better or just create offense and dictate offense and leading and assists and stuff like that. No, that's just a stat way of, you know, kind of following, okay, if you pass to this guy and he just catches and shoot, assists are good for catch and shoot and dependable people. But when you have a bunch of creators or guys that could just do things on their own, you don't necessarily have to have assists to make them better and to change and dictate how the offense moves. So Vanvleet being inserted, you could just see his shot creating makes the defense just play differently. The fact he doesn't even have to get one assist. That's what I was saying with Kawhi, even in the championship year with the Raptors. The fact that Vanvleet is even on the floor, which was similar to Kawhi. The fact that Vanvleet's on the floor changes the game plan of the defense. They focus more so on Vanvleet, that now the other guys can get buckets on the back end when the focus is mainly on stopping Vanvleet and focusing on just where he is, how he's located, stuff like that, right? And you can see that, right? especially how he came in. They played drop coverage. Vanvleet is proving man's on the hip, doing floaters, pull-ups kind of in the mid-range area that he added more to his bag now, especially this season at a full-fledged, at a full tier, right? And you could see that now changes how they defend. So now it opens up for a slip for Scotty even more, or, handoff to handoff between Pascal and Scott, or even just Pascal, period, getting better ISOs with now man's not digging in as much because you can't really help off Vanvleet, especially now that he's cooking, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, you just have to understand that at the end of the day, like, you have to know that Vanvleet, just the insertion of Vanvleet changes the Raptors drastically, right? And you could see that. And it's clear, right? And that's what happened with the Spurs last night. Now, and then everything else opens up, the floodgates open up, and people are more comfortable going back to their roles, basically, right? Pascal doesn't have to be the focal point of the offense. And then now he's not even going to struggle as much because he doesn't have to do as much in terms of just every play, it's me, you know what I mean? When VanVleet's not there. And then, Gary Trent doesn't always have to, even if he's off, it might not dictate the win. Because VanVleet just spacing the floor, and you add that, right? You add that, and just the context of the team and how they play just moves differently, even though it looks like it's the same, right? That's where the trained eye comes in. So, VanVleet is just very important, very vital to the Raptors. Just, like I said, then now you apply his ability, his scoring, how the Raptors earlier on, he's the one. Anytime they needed a bucket, he's the one that gave you a bucket. End of the clocks, they're going on a run, Spurs, and in the end of the half, he just pulls up from deep on Pirtle's head, splash, right? Like, stuff like that. He's literally gives a boost and just a scoring boost at moments when they needed it. And then that kind of carried the Raptors for the most part, kept them in the game, even when they lost the lead and stuff like that early. And then now when the bench comes in and everyone, just boom, 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 you can go back to your running the pace and playing better defense, and the energy of the team and the spirit is just lifted. So VanVleet was definitely a key. The main reason. That's what I was trying to highlight before. So I understand that why the Raptors was losing a little bit, but there was no excuse on the caliber of teams they was losing to. They should be able to win without VanVleet. You know what I'm saying? There's no excuse for that. But again, I understand the magnitude of what you're missing when VanVleet is not there, especially in this season, not other years. VanVleet didn't have this same type of role that he had on other years. So VanVleet being out, people were used to, Raptors can still win. Lowry's still there. Ibaka's still there. This player's still there, etc. Gasol, so the spacing is still good. Pascal can now be the number one and just because the spacing is beautiful. They help. Kicks it out to Ibaka bucket or Gasol, and then Gasol passes and dimes. Great defense in the interior. Like, there's so many things that they had at hand that VanVleet not being there, it didn't matter as much. But now when VanVleet has his roles to this number one option and just this elite play, elite ability, when they don't have the interior, they don't have the other things focused on in terms of, or kind of clear in terms of, okay, Pascal, now if you give it to him, VanVleet's out, now Pascal's the number one guy. The space and personnel isn't the same as when they had Gasol and Ibaka, so you're going to miss VanVleet more because he's needed for his spacing, because it enables and it helps Pascal, because that's another body you can't help off of in terms of VanVleet spotting up when Pascal has it. So even though it's not like VanVleet is just getting assists and making Pascal better, but his presence on the floor, spacing out the floor, is making Pascal better, right? So you have to, this is what I was trying to say from time, that, there's a reason why Pascal eats more so in the games that VanVleet is there. Doesn't mean he doesn't eat when VanVleet's not there, but it's easier, and, when you have to just go to him, when VanVleet's not there, it's going to be more of a struggle because who's in the game? Now Precious, Kem Birch, Kem Birch, Pascal, Scotty, and especially if Flynn's not there, then you have Precious as well in the starting lineup, or even Boucher. It's only Trent that's the shooter, so mans can shrink the floor, and even though Boucher can hit, but the defense is not gonna stick to Boucher in the corner. They're gonna let him, you have to earn it. That's just the game plan wise. He's not seen as a lights out shooter that you have to worry about to that magnitude to not, to not actually help off of him. You want him shooting. If he kills you from shooting, you live and die by that. But for the most part, VanVleet is one of those shooters like Trent that you can't now leave off Pascal. So now his ISO, all of that type of stuff is easier for him to just go one-on-one. Doesn't have to worry about that as much digs as he had to when you saw this clips. If you watched the last video, that he had to, worry about when Vanvleet wasn't there. So Vanvleet's, just his personnel, his presence, again, this is why, again, context is everything. You can't just read the stats. You can't just look at, and even watching the games doesn't mean you're going to take this from watching the games. You have to have the trained eye, right? That's why I'm here to talk about that IQ. That's what I do. You feel me? But for the most part, like, again, if you now sit back and look at it, the Spurs aren't even in the play-in picture right now. So, yes, it is a good win, a great win. But when you sit back and look at it, is it really a great win? The Raptors were supposed to win that. You know what I'm saying? We're not. What I mean by great wins is talking about playoff-bound teams, contenders. Like, those are great, great wins. This is a good win because, again, it's still on the road. Spurs, again, they're out of the play-in, but they can still beat you. Any team in this NBA can still beat you, right? When you have the space and when you have the personnel and just the way the new NBA is in terms of the skill, anybody could beat you, especially if they're hot from three. And, this game, anybody could beat you, right? It's not like before where it's guaranteed pencil in wins now. Anybody could beat you. But for the most part, when you still look back at it, it's still not a great, great win in terms of just who you're facing, the caliber of team you're playing against. So, at the end of the day, like, Raptors have to go on a stretch. Again, now they have some crucial games coming up, right? They got the Suns coming up. The Suns is the next game, and that's at the Suns. D-Book just came back. Raptors out of luck. D-Book just came back, you know what I'm saying? The personnel, he was in the COVID protocols. Now he's back. They killed the Heat yesterday. So, they're ready, right? They're trying to show that they could win without Chris Paul. So you have Phoenix, then you have Denver, then you have the Lakers, then you have the Clippers, then you have the Lakers, then you have Philly, then you have Chicago, then Cleveland before you get Indiana. Like, you literally have a rough stretch, right? As bad as the Lakers look, it's still the Lakers, right? Like, LeBron could go off at any time, right? So it's not like it's guaranteed pencil in wins. So when you look at it, this stretch right here is where you'll really see, okay, are the Raptors going to drop hell in the standings and Brooklyn overtakes them? Or are they actually going to, like, okay, they for real, they could actually upset somebody and go to the second round, especially as a 6th seed, face the 3rd seed. Who's the 3rd seed right now? Let's go look at it. I'm pretty sure is it Chicago? It might be Chicago. Let me just check because it'd be fluctuated. Philadelphia. See, now Philadelphia's number 2. Now Philadelphia's number 3. Philadelphia better stay number 3 because if they go number 2 and let's say the play-in is Raptors Nets and let's say Nets beat Raptors and they go to 7, Philly don't want to face Nets in the first round. So, you know what I mean? Right now it's Miami number 1, Milwaukee number 2. They skyrocketed 1-6 in a row. That's why, because they weren't there. They're at like 3-4. Now they're number 2, Philly number 3, and Chicago number 4. So again, Raptors, if they could, they're not that far. Only 3 games back of Cleveland, which can be a lot depending on how that team moves. But if the Raptors, let's say they get to 6th seed, they face Philly, you know what I'm saying? That's tough, especially with a big. Or they stay at the 7th seed, they face Milwaukee. They run the wall. They would want that right now. You know what I'm saying? Out of all the teams, Miami, Milwaukee, Philly, Milwaukee's probably the team that the Raptors, it's the kryptonite. That's the team that the Raptors could kind of maybe upset if they were to. But again, that's a different conversation, right? But again, this last stretch, if you want to even be in that can you upset somebody type of round, this stretch is going to matter. How you overcome or how you play and how you just look in this stretch, even if you lose all the games, but every game is close, it's not as, it's not as worrisome as, let's say you get blown out in majority of the games and you lose bare of them. Or you go 50-50. Or you actually now have a winning percentage. You go, you win majority of them. Like how this stretch happens, how you play the context of each game is going to be very vital to kind of foreseeing who the Raptors are because the playoffs is around the corner. Who you are now at the end of the season, for the most part, is, if it's not injuries, is who you're going to be in the playoffs. So this matters, right? So this will tell us a lot for this last stretch. And that's why, games that are supposed to win or that's supposed to be won, Raptors were supposed to win them, like the Magic, Detroit. That could come back to bite them, especially when the seeding is this tight and you don't want to be in the play-in, or even if you're in the play-in, you're seeding or standing in the play-in. That affects how many games you have to win in the play-in. Like, all of this matters right now. So this is the stretch. So we'll see what happens there. You already know. So it's True Talks, because True Talks. Share, like, and subscribe. We out here. There's no doubt here. There's no drought here. You feel me? I appreciate y'all. You already know. We'll see how it goes. Vanvleet, man. He's that guy. He's that guy. You already know, man. I appreciate y'all. And I'm out, man.